We live in interesting times. For the headlines, President Duterte and other leaders of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, and the International Monetary Fund officials were already in Bali, Indonesia, when a fresh tremor struck Indonesia anew on Thursday dawn, October 11. 2 dead, 2 are dead as a huge hurricane tears into Florida. The 2-man crew of a Soyuz rocket are alive after being forced to make an emergency landing because of an engine problem just after it blasted off to the International Space Station. I'm Alma Angeles, wherever you're watching from around the world. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. And now to the news. The Department of Foreign Affairs reported that President Duterte and the rest of the Philippine delegation currently in Indonesia are safe and are all accounted for after a 6.4 magnitude hit the nation anew. Citing the Philippine Embassy in Jakarta, DFA Assistant Secretary Elmer Cato said the earthquake struck East Java, killing 3 and wounding several others. Cato said the tremor was also felt in Lombok and in Bali, hours after President Duterte arrived in Denpasar for the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN leaders gathering on Thursday. Ambassador to Indonesia, Lee Yong-wee, for his part said none of the estimated 201 Filipinos in East Java and 56 in Bali were affected by the earthquake. President Duterte had already arrived in Bali when the quake struck Thursday at 2:44 a.m. Now, President Duterte came along with a lean official delegation. He arrived the night before at 9:09 p.m. on Wednesday, October 10, on board a private jet at the Denpasar International Airport in Bali. He's set to meet with 9 other ASEAN leaders in an informal roundtable. He met them at 4 p.m. today, Thursday. IMF Managing Director Christine Lagarde, World Bank President Jim Yong Kim, and UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres are also attending. The ASEAN leaders are expected to tackle terrorism, economy, and other concerns. Meanwhile, Department of Foreign Affairs Secretary Alan Peter Cayetano and Special Assistant to the President Christopher Lawrence Bongo on Thursday spearheaded the symbolic handover of the Philippines' assistance to the earthquake and tsunami victims in central Sulawesi. Take a look.
Early this AM, we felt a powerful jolt, yet nothing compared to what has been suffered by our brothers and sisters here in Indonesia. Indonesia is and has always been a good neighbor. In fact, they are more than neighbors. They are family to us. Just as ASEAN and AHA Center readily provided assistance to the Philippines for those affected by Typhoon Mangkhut, Super Typhoon Haiyan, and the Marawi crisis, the Philippines would like to return ASEAN's kindness by standing together with Indonesia during this time of adversity. On behalf of President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, we thank the Indonesian government, the ASEAN Secretary General, and the AHA Center for much that you have done for ASEAN. So we humbly ask that you accept our assistance here today.
To ASEAN in Jakarta, Indonesia.
The One ASEAN, One Response handover ceremony was held a few hours before President Duterte attended the ASEAN leaders gathering at the Sofitel Bali Nusa Dua Beach Resort. Cayetano said the Philippine government has so far extended a total of $500,000 worth of assistance, including $200,000 worth of relief goods, tents, generators, and family and medical kits to central Sulawesi.
May we request PCOO Secretary.
Meanwhile, Indonesia called off the grim search for those killed in a quake tsunami with no hope of retrieving around 5,000 bodies believed to be still buried under the ruins nearly 2 weeks after the disaster. The magnitude 7.5 quake and a subsequent tsunami razed swaths of the city of Palu on Sulawesi Island on September 28. A total of 2,073 bodies had been recovered since the twin disasters. Now, there are fears that 5,000 more could still be buried beneath the ruined city, where entire villages were swallowed up. Rescuers had struggled to find remains in the twisted wreckage, a job made worse as mud hardened and bodies decomposed in the tropical heat. More than 200,000 people remain in dire need of humanitarian assistance in Palu. Clean drinking water and medical supplies are still in short supply, and many survivors were entirely reliant on handouts to get by. Now, Central Sulawesi Governor Longki Jangola said although the search effort was over, survivors would be supported in their time of need. Now, Hurricane Michael has killed one person in northern Florida, according to an official in Gadsden County, west of the state capital, Tallahassee, giving the first confirmed death from the powerful storm. There is one hurricane-related fatality, according to Olivia Smith, the public information officer for the Gadsden County Board of County Commissioners, adding that the incident was debris-related. There was a tree involved. She could not say what time the death occurred or give any details about the victim. Smith said the situation was dangerous even for emergency personnel. All right, here's an update. Hurricane Michael has killed one person in northern Florida, according to an official in Tallahassee, giving the first confirmed death from the powerful storm. There is one hurricane-related fatality, according to Olivia Smith. She is the public information officer for the Gadsden County Board of County Commissioners, adding that the incident was debris-related. She couldn't say what time the death occurred or give away any details about the victim. Smith said the situation was dangerous even for emergency personnel. The strongest storm to hit the U.S. in more than 25 years and the most powerful on record in the Florida Panhandle has headed inland after a furious onslaught that killed 2 people now and tore apart buildings. Hurricane Michael's 155-mile-per-hour winds at landfall were only 5 miles per hour short of Category 5 status, making it the U.S. strongest storm since Hurricane Andrew ravaged southern Florida in 1992. Michael sprang quickly from a weekend tropical depression, going from a Category 2 on Tuesday to a Category 4 storm by the time it came ashore. Landfall happened just north of Mexico Beach, Florida, a small coastal town 25 miles east of Panama City with a population of 1,000 at about 1:30 p.m. local time on Wednesday. Now, a storm surge occurred in the beach. According to the National Hurricane Center, the storm blew in with sustained winds of 155 miles per hour and traveling at 14 miles per hour. All right, so here are some of the developments from Hurricane Michael now. A man died on Wednesday after a tree crashed down on his home in Greensboro, northwest of Tallahassee, the Gadsden County Sheriff's Office said. And they reported that also a girl died in Seminole County in southwestern Georgia when her home was struck by debris. Much of the coast of the Florida Panhandle, including Panama City, Florida, and Mexico Beach, near where the hurricane made landfall was left in ruins. At 5 a.m. on Thursday, Michael was about 30 miles west of Augusta, Georgia, heading northeast with sustained wind speeds of up to 50 miles per hour. The storm is moving relatively quickly at 21 miles per hour and is expected to speed up as it crosses into the Carolinas on Thursdays and blows out to sea by early Friday. As of Thursday morning, more than 800,000 customers had lost power in Alabama, Florida, Georgia, and South Carolina, according to electrical providers in those states. Now, in some Florida counties, much as Franklin and Leon, nearly every customer was without power. Michael took the nation by surprise, intensifying rapidly from a tropical storm to a major hurricane in just 2 days and leaving little time for preparations. It did so, scientists say, because of its low barometric pressure and of warmer than average water in the Gulf of Mexico. Researchers cannot say, however, that global warming is to blame for the specifics of the latest storm. Hurricane Michael, which grew to Category 4 with sustained winds of 155 miles an hour as it hit the Florida Panhandle on Wednesday. But there are already suggestions, however, that the warming caused by all those greenhouse gas emissions has had an impact on Michael. A 2013 study showed that sea surface temperatures in the eastern Gulf of Mexico have warmed over the past century by more than what would be expected from natural variability. Meanwhile, AccuWeather reports that although Michael has weakened following landfall, a fast-moving swath of damaging winds and flooding is now expected to stretch from northern Florida to Georgia, the Carolinas, and southeastern Virginia prior to Friday. Michael caused widespread damage already in the Florida Panhandle as a worst-case scenario for the region and is now sweeping through Georgia and South Carolina. Michael will increase in speed as it moves over the southern U.S., keeping it at tropical storm strength well inland, according to forecasters. Michael will clear the coast of North Carolina and Virginia as a tropical storm early on Friday morning U.S. time. Gusts to tropical storm force of 39 miles per hour or greater may extend as far to the northeast as southeastern Maryland, southeastern Delaware, and the New Jersey Cape, and perhaps as far to the northwest as the Interstate 85 corridor. Gusts this high can break weak tree limbs and cause sporadic power outages. During and sometimes for days after a hurricane makes landfall and moves inland, tornadoes are often spawned. AccuWeather senior meteorologist Dan Pidnovsky said, with the projected path of Michael, the greatest risk for brief spin-up tornadoes is near the storm center and south and east of the track of the storm. Now, millions could end up without power as a result. The Carolinas are still recovering from Hurricane Florence, which left dozens dead and is estimated to have caused billions of dollars in damage last month. Last year saw a string of catastrophic storms batter the western Atlantic, including Irma, Maria, and Harvey, which caused a record equaling $125 billion in damage when it flooded the Houston metropolitan area. Scientists have long warned that global warming will make storms more destructive, and some say the evidence for this may already be visible. In other news, rescue workers search desperately for a 5-year-old boy and 2 Germans still missing on Spain's holiday island of Mallorca after flash floods tore through streets and swept away cars, killing 10 people. A massive cleanup was underway in the mud-covered streets of San Loran del Cardasar, one of the worst-hit towns, after intense driving rain on Tuesday afternoon surprised locals who only had a precious few seconds to react before a torrent descended. The child was in a car in San Laurent with his mother, who was one of those killed, according to a spokesman for the central government's representative in the Balearic Islands. The boy's sister survived. Many people have been sleeping in sports centers since the flash floods. Mangled vehicles, wet mattresses, wrecked furniture, and trees torn right out from their roots clutter the town, 60 kilometers east of the island's capital of Palma, while locals tried to recover lost valuables from the wreckage of their homes with the help of volunteers. The news continues here on Eagle News International. We'll be right back.
Crackers.
Welcome back. A cyclone packing winds of up to 150 kilometers per hour and heavy rains hit eastern India early Thursday, with over 300,000 people evacuated from low-lying areas and 2 men reported killed. Take a look. Officials in neighboring Bangladesh said they were on alert in the coastal district of Cox's Bazar, home to around 1 million Rohingya refugees from Myanmar living in tarpaulin and bamboo shelters. Cyclone Titli, which intensified into a very severe cyclonic storm over the Bay of Bengal, made landfall on India's eastern coast early Thursday, according to the Press Trust of India news agency. Wind speeds of up to 150 kilometers per hour were reported, with gusts of up to 165 kilometers per hour. 1 man died in a house collapse, while another was killed by a falling tree, according to emergency services. The Odisha state government evacuated more than 300,000 people from 5 coastal districts, while local schools, colleges, and childcare centers were ordered closed, and fishermen advised not to go out to sea. In other news, Malaysia has decided to abolish the death penalty, according to a senior minister, on Thursday, with more than 1,200 people on death row set to win a reprieve following a groundswell of opposition to capital punishment. Executions are currently mandatory for murder, kidnapping, possession of firearms, and drug trafficking, among other crimes, and is carried out by hanging, a legacy of British colonial rule. Human Rights Watch hailed the fabulous news with its deputy director for Asia, Phil Robertson, saying the move would increase pressure on other countries and the region to follow suit. The government decided to scrap capital punishment because the Malaysian public had shown they were against the death penalty, according to Communications and Multimedia Minister Gobind Singh Deo Gobind. The moratorium on the death penalty affects among others, 2 women accused of assassinating the estranged half-brother of North Korean leader Kim Jong-il last year. A Malaysian court last year ruled the case could proceed against the Indonesian national Siti Aisyah and Doan Thi Wong of Vietnam after Kim Jong-nam's murder of Kuala Lumpur Airport. Australian citizen Maria Elvira Pinto Exposto, 54, who was found guilty of drug smuggling by an appeals court in May, will win a reprieve. In other news, the 2-man crew of a Soyuz rocket are alive after they were forced to make an emergency landing following liftoff to the International Space Station. Take a look.
There is liftoff of the Soyuz MS-10 to the International Space Station, carrying Nick Hague and Alexei Ovchinin to the orbital complex.
Now, the 2-man crew of a Soyuz rocket are alive after they were forced to make an emergency landing following the liftoff from the International Space Station. The emergency rescue system worked. The vessel was able to land in Kazakhstan. The crew are alive, according to Roscosmos in a tweet. NASA rookie astronaut Nick Hague and second-time flyer Alexei Ovchinin of the Russian Space Agency landed without injuries, according to the Interfax news agency. The launch had a problem with the booster rocket a few seconds after the first stage separation, and they confirmed now that the crew has started to go into ballistic descent mode, according to the voiceover on a NASA live stream from the mission control. A tweet from the American Space Agency's account read, "Search and rescue teams are in the air, heading towards the expected touchdown location for the Soyuz spacecraft returning to Earth." The Kremlin confirmed the men had survived. Russian presidential spokesman Dmitry Peskov told journalists, "Thank God the cosmonauts are alive."
In the first stage, the Soyuz measured 68 feet in length and 24 feet in diameter.
All right, to other news now. Yemeni Ahmed Yobeichi is not acting out some childhood fantasy when he peers down on the street below from his treehouse. War and poverty in Yemen have forced him to seek out such a lofty shelter. Take a look.
جمعية بغالة بعدين يعني الظروف تحلبطة والأسعارات ارتفعت والديون ازدادت. رجعت لها فصرت طلعت هنا الشجرة صلحت الرقعة. أنا كنت فاتح ثنت انطياق فسديت الطاقة دي هنا لأنه لما أرقد هنا الريح لا فوقي. سديتها علشان البرد. بقالة ما فيش زلط ولا هذا دين كله ما هذا يقول لي الأسبوع هذا الشهر هذا لما يجي المعاش ما فيش فايدة. قلت له ما فيش معي اصبر علي شهر. قال ماشي ما بالله الشيء زلط الآن ولا خرج من المحل. جيت عين ما فيش خراج. الساير والراجع يشوفه. أنت هناك منفوذ يعني مجنون. بطلنا البقالة 3 سنين بلجي. اشتغلنا بلجي. العمل ضايع. لازم ما في علاجي. الحمد لله عايش هنا أحسن من ما أنا بالشارع ولا بدكان يجي يقول لك هات إيجار ومدري إيش والحالة ما في.
Eagle News International will be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back. European and Asian stock markets slumped Thursday following the worst session on Wall Street since February on heightened global economic strains, including mounting worries over high U.S. interest rates and trade battles, with rising rates pushing investors to reconsider the U.S. growth outlook and move out of stocks. U.S. President Trump blamed, quote, crazy policies of the Federal Reserve for contributing to financial market turmoil. Following sharp falls of around 4 to 6% on Asia's main stock markets, Europe managed to keep its losses down, with London down 1.8% in mid-morning deals. The dollar was down against the euro and yen, while Brent North Sea crude oil tumbled almost $2. Meanwhile, Tokyo's benchmark index closed down nearly 4% as U.S. President Trump said the Federal Reserve had, quote, gone crazy with plans for higher interest rates. The Nikkei 225 index plunged 3.89% to end at 22,590.86, while the broader Topix index shed 3.52% to 1,701.86. In a phone interview with Fox News, Trump said, and I quote, the Fed is going wild, and I mean, I don't know what their problem is, but they're raising interest rates and it's ridiculous. He said further, the Fed is going loco and there's no reason for them to do it, and I'm not happy about it. U.S. shares plunged as worries about surging U.S. interest rates and the impact of trade disputes prompted a broad-based sell-off that wiped more than 3% from major indices. In other business news, IMF Chief Christine Lagarde says uncoordinated developed country rate hikes are contributing to destabilizing capital outflows from emerging markets. At an opening press conference for the IMF and the World Bank gathering in Bali, Indonesia, and the World Bank President Jim Yong Kim introduced a new human capital index. Take a look.
With global and public debt, private and public, at an all-time high, any slight change in the wind could provoke capital outflows and economic instability in emerging markets, as we see it in some of those markets.
We need to fundamentally change the urgency with which we invest in our people. That's why today we're launching a new tool to help make the case for these investments, the first Human Capital Index from the World Bank Group. If we act with the sense of urgency that this human capital crisis requires, we can create a world where all children arrive at school well-nourished and ready to learn, where they have a chance to grow up and become healthy, skilled adults, and where they can be productive throughout their careers as they reach for their own dreams. That's the world we want. This index can help us get there.
The Human Capital Index predicts what level of wealth children in a country can expect by the time they turn 18, scored from 0 to 1. The more a nation invests in health and education, the higher the score. For example, children in an economy with a rating of 0.5 can expect to earn only half of their potential lifetime income. Singapore received the highest score of 0.88, followed by South Korea and Japan. Some other countries in Asia also ranked high, as did European nations. Chad was at the bottom with a score of 0.29. Many other African countries also ranked low. President Kim said he hopes the research will be a wake-up call for world leaders, especially in Africa, to improve human resources development. Meanwhile, central bankers and finance officials gathered in Indonesia for this week's annual meetings of the International Monetary Fund and World Bank Group and are pointing to trade as an important engine of growth and are urging leaders not to apply the brakes through protectionism. IMF Managing Director Christine Lagarde hosted the panel of senior trade officials and experts on globalism to discuss growing trade tensions that the fund has identified as a risk to the global expansion.
Trade wars are stupid. Trade wars are not something easy to win. Trade wars are very difficult to fight, and they impoverish everybody. They are a major risk to the world growth, and this is why we cannot accept that protectionism is an issue, We must stick to the multilateral order. Of course, we need to fix it.
Agreement could also be beneficial.
Panelists said tariffs and retaliatory tariffs threaten to hurt poor and working class people rather than help them. World Trade Organization Director General Roberto Azevedo said trade tensions have already had an impact.
Trade expansion we were expecting this year, our first estimate was around 4.4%. We already revised it down to 3.9%. Next year it was going to be 4%. Now we revised it down to 3.7%. And some people, I hear it sometimes, people saying, well, but all these things are happening, but the economy is still good. Of course it's still good because the impact is not there yet.
Yeah.
There is a delay between the moment when you introduce these measures and when they're actually affecting the economy. And I think we may see more of that kind of impact in the future if we don't do anything about it.
Agreement could also
Azevedo and Moscovici urged leaders to value existing institutions and work to de-escalate their trade disputes.
Some say that Europe is the problem. I say that Europe is a solution. Some say that multilateralism is a problem. Multilateralism is a solution. But to convince from that, we need to have a better Europe and a better multilateralism.
big round of applause for this extraordinary panel.
In other business news, French energy giant Total has officially quit its multi-billion-dollar gas project in Iran, according to Oil Minister Bijan Namdar Zanganeh, following the reimposition of U.S. sanctions. The United States said in May that it was abandoning the 2015 nuclear deal and reimposing sanctions on Iran in two phases in August and November, with the second targeting the country's vital oil and gas sector. The other parties to the nuclear deal, Britain, France, Germany, and China, and Russia, have vowed to stay in the accord, but their companies risk huge penalties if they keep doing business in Iran. Total was due to make an initial $1 billion investment, but the company said in May that it had spent less than 40 million euros on the project to date, as uncertainty over U.S. actions mounted. The company would have been highly vulnerable to U.S. penalties for remaining in Iran. Just days after the world-famous Chukiji site closed the door on its 83-year history, cries of the Rakua's pre-dawn tuna auction rang out for the first time at Tokyo's new fish market. Take a look.
僕なんかはもう年なんですけれども、やっぱりこれから若い人たちが働いていくためにはこういったところの方が嬉しいと思うし、僕もやっぱりいいなと思いましたね。
Eagle News International will be right back. Stay tuned. All right, and we're still following the developments out of Florida. Hurricane Michael has already weakened to a tropical storm early Thursday, but only after wreaking a day of havoc along Florida's Gulf Coast as it flooded homes and streets and toppled trees and power lines in the beachfront areas where it roared ashore as a raging Category 4 hurricane. Take a look.
Sprint superstar Usain Bolt looks set to make his first start as a professional footballer on Friday, a challenge he said could determine if he has a future in the sport of his boyhood dreams. Bolt said the coach of his Central Coast Mariners, Mike Mulvey, had indicated he would be in the starting lineup in a friendly against MacArthur Southwest United in Sydney. The 8-time Olympic champion made his football debut in late August in a 20-minute cameo as a substitute on a left wing, nearly scoring but tiring quickly. Bolt said he had improved his fitness since and expected to spend more time up front. The A-League has been struggling in recent years with fewer fans and dwindling TV ratings, with football chiefs hoping the arrival of big names like Bolt will boost local interest. The 100-meter world record holder said he expected some nerves when out on the pitch but was excited by the opportunity to prove his worth as a footballer. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin met mixed martial arts champion Khabib Nurmagomedov on Wednesday, saying that he did not deserve harsh punishment for a recent post-fight brawl. The Russian strongman appeared on state television meeting the fighter, who defended his Ultimate Fighting Championship lightweight title against Conor McGregor on Saturday, along with his father. Nurmagomedov faces a possible suspension over the post-fight fracas and has not received his prize money, though he will keep his title. Despite the controversy, he has received a hero's welcome in Russia. Putin gave the fighter a mild lecture over his behavior but stressed that any Russian will respond forcefully to an attack from the outside. Putin said, "I will ask your dad not to punish you harshly," the president told the 30-year-old fighter from the mainly Muslim Dagestan region, adding that you won worthily and convincingly. Putin said that like other Russians, he had closely followed the fight in Las Vegas and got emotionally involved. After the fight, Nurmagomedov jumped over the fence and apparently tried to attack his opponent's training partner. The crowd was so hostile that the UFC president Dana White did not present the Russian with his belt. Nurmagomedov expressed no remorse, telling Putin he responded to disrespect and provocation from his opponent and that he hoped to be vindicated. Putin told him that a Russian must restrain himself while at home in his own country, while he called a big family, but when attacked from the outside may respond appropriately. In a family, anything can happen, but we never allow ourselves to go beyond certain limits, Putin said. But if they attack us from the outside, of course not, just you, all of us can jump in such a way. They won't know what hit them, said Putin, nevertheless cautioning Nurmagomedov that it is better not to take things so far. In basketball, Tex Winter, who teamed with Phil Jackson to lead the Chicago Bulls and Los Angeles Lakers to multiple NBA championships, died Wednesday in New York. He was 96. Winter pioneered the triangle offense that the Bulls and Lakers both used to dominate the league for years. Winter began his coaching career at Kansas State University in 1947. At age 30, he became the youngest coach in U.S. college basketball. He was hired as an assistant coach with Chicago in 1985, where he joined forces with head coach Jackson to guide the Jordan-led Bulls to NBA titles in 1991, 1992, 1993, 1996, 1997, and 1998. Winter eventually followed Jackson to the Los Angeles Lakers and they guided the Lakers to 3 championships from 2000 to 2002. And these are the stories for EN Sports. I'm Ben Bernaldez, and I'm 1 to 25.
Thank you, Ben. Eagle News International will be right back.
Narito po ang mga dapat ninyong abangan.
Kami magkakaibigan pa rin.
Sa akin, pagka ganun, dismayado na ako. So sa akin, moment yon. Paano namin iangat to?
What makes it different is that it's 95% production numbers lahat.
Dumating na kami sa punto na nagpapasalamat rin kami. Kaya namin rin ginagawa to eh.
Ang pinaka-importante sa lahat, happy. Happy
yes. Ang lahat ng yan dito sa programang punong-puno ng pagmamahal, Moments.
How will we keep the prices down?
Pero baka matulungan niyo ako dito. May kaibigan ako taga-Kapitolyo. Baka kilala niyo ho?
Federalismo. Taong 2008, nag-file si dating Senate Minority Leader Aquilino Nene Pimentel ng joint resolution para i-convene ang Kongreso sa isang Constituent Assembly. Ito ay para sa layuning irebisa ang konstitusyon para buuin ang isang federal system of government. Binuo ang nasabing resolusyon dahil ang sentro ng kapangyarihan at pananalapi ay nasa Metro Manila at napag-iwanan na di umano ang malalayong lalawigan ng bansa. Anya, hindi patas ang pagkakabahagi ng pag-unlad at ang nakikinabang lamang ay ang ilang malapit sa administrasyon. Dahil dito ay lumaganap ang kahirapan at nabuo ang mga armadong pag-aaklas sa buong bansa.
Kung ang inyong lugar naman ay isinailalim sa Tropical Cyclone Warning Signal number 1, ang lalawigang ito ay makakaranas ng mabilis na hangin na 30 hanggang 60 km per hour, dala ng bagyo na mararanasan sa loob ng 36 na oras. May dala rin pabugso-bugsong pag-ulan. Maaaring umiksi ang pagitan ng bugso ng hangin depende sa lapit ng bagyo. Narito ang epekto ng hangin. Mababali ang sanga ng maliliit na puno. Maaaring mabali o tuluyang mahugot ang ilang puno ng saging. Maaaring matanggalan ng bubong ang ilang bahay na di gawa sa matibay na materyales. Mababaw o halos walang pagkasirang magaganap sa apektadong lugar. Malaking pinsala ang maaaring matamo ng palay na nagsisimula pa lamang umusubog. Mga paalala, kapag lumikas at kumilos papalapit ang bagyo, maaaring itaas ang warning signal. Pinapayuhan ang lahat na makinig sa pinakahuling ulat panahon mula sa Pag-asa kada 6 na oras. Maaaring isagawa ang pang-araw-araw ng mga trabaho at gawain maliban na lamang kung bumaha. Inilalagay sa alert status ang Disaster Preparedness Units. Ibig sabihin, itinaas na ang pagka-alerto ng mga pangkat na tutugon sa epekto ng bagyo. Mga dapat gawin. Kung nasira ang bahay ay agad na ayusin. Maglinis ng drainage system. Mag-ani ng mga pwede pang maaning pananim. Konsultahin ang mga weather bulletin mula sa Pag-asa na inilalabas tuwing ika-6 na oras.
Yung Eastern Police District, kasama ng mga local government officials tsaka ng iba pang government agencies ay nagpiprepare through training ng our personnel. Yung mga equipment nila na naapektuhan nitong mga challenges na nangyari doon sa pag-rescue operation nila. Because of those lessons, they came up with this drum boat. Kapag alam namin na mayroong typhoon, ngayon dinadala na namin yung drum boat doon sa possible location. Magtiwala po kayo sa ating mga kapulisan at kami naman po ay pipilitin namin maibahagi sa inyo ang maayos na serbisyo ng inyong disiplinadong police, especially dito sa Eastern Police District.
As Eagle Broadcasting Corporation marks its 50th year, it is conducting several activities under the theme EBC Cares, enabling a better community. Health and nutrition are key factors on child's learning and well-being. EBC's feeding program encourages the community to combat malnutrition among children and ensure them a healthy future. EBC's cleanup drive and citronella planting hopes to help the community in caring for environment and preventing diseases such as dengue. EBC's public service program, Paglilingkod sa Bayan, Serbisyo para sa Mamamayan, has opened its doors to government agencies so more people can avail of these services. EBC's blood donation program and medical mission continue to spearhead life-saving projects, and EBC's livelihood seminar teaches and guides those who want to have additional income and business. EBC Cares, serving the people in these interesting times.
Hey guys, I'm here in New Jersey, the diner capital of the world. Tune in to Digital Nest on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. I'm Nikki, and I'm 1 with 25.
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced. Eagle News, because we live in interesting times.
And finally in our news, MJ Racadio takes us to the Donut Festival Sprinkles, where local vendors serve up donuts as tasty treats, ice cream, artwork, and competitive sport in Sacramento.
Welcome to Sacramento Donut Festival 2018, celebrating all things donut, only here at California Automobile Museum. Sold out for its second consecutive year in California's capital, the Sacramento Donut Festival drew in lines of attendees more than an hour before the doors opened.
Well, this is our second year attending, and I think we're really, we love donuts, obviously, and it's a good chance to see kind of the artisan vendors in the area, and then, of course, to support the local community. So I think that's one of the main reasons, other than donuts, of course.
And what about you, John?
Yeah, I pretty much agree. I'm mostly interested in discovering new donuts that I've never had before. So this is a good chance to try a lot of new things in one place.
Vendors showcased their creativity and set themselves apart from others. Totem Coffee Roasters describes what makes them donuts unique.
My name's Hillary. We're from Totem Coffee in Placerville. We have been doing donuts for about 2 years now, but we've been a coffee roaster for 3 years. So we're doing vegan, organic, as local as we can get as far as our fruits and our flavors go. And they're all vegan, and we make them in-house, and we're based out of Placerville.
While donuts were the main attraction of the festival, it also features local coffee roasters and donut-inspired ice cream flavors. For one vendor, his art has taken on a new meaning through donuts.
So last year, I started doing these donut paintings for the first ever Sacramento Donut Festival. And it was kind of a joke at first. I just was painting donuts to see what would happen. I was actually turned on to it because my mom sent me a link over Facebook for this event, which just started last year. I don't know if you knew that or not. So I came out with just kind of plain donuts, and I did really well. I brought 32 out and I sold 28. So it was kind of like, wow, there's something here. So this year I actually started making it more like owning the art more. So it's not so much of a joke as it is starting to build passion for it. So that's why this year there's like sprinkles, there's bacon, there's all kinds of like new details as opposed to just a plain donut. So it's been really fun. I've gotten a lot more out of it as an artist just personally than I ever thought I would have. So it's been really nice, like awesome.
Another highlight of the event was a donut competition. This year's winner and returning champion was Bad Bakers, which took first place with their new concept, the Mo Cheese gluten-free Mochi donut, topped with butter glaze, cheese, and sprinkled sugar. Dave, an organizer of the event, explains how the Donut Festival came to be what it is today.
This is our second year of selling out. We sold out last year and this year. It came about from an idea of the burger battle, the Sacramento Burger Battle, and our friend Rodney, and how lucky he is to talk about hamburgers all year long and eat hamburgers. And we were like, why can't we do that with donuts? And then we realized at the time there were no other donut festivals in all of the United States. So it took us a couple of years before we got on our feet and got it started, but there's still only a few. And ours is the only one that is locals only. Just shops in the Sacramento area, no national chains. There's a lot of mom and pop shops, pop-up places that only sell on the street. Shorty's has a donut truck, and we really want to spotlight Sacramento and how awesome it is. We take the profits and split it between the Sacramento Food Bank and the California Automobile Museum because we just want to give something back to especially to people who, it seems fitting that on a day when everyone is gorging themselves on donuts and sweets that we should give money back to some people who can't.
This is not just your typical donut event. It also helps Sacramento Food Bank. Reporting from Sacramento Donut Festival, my name is MJ Ricardio, and I'm one with 25.
Thank you, MJ, and that's it for tonight's broadcast. I'm Alma Angeles, always one with 25. Good night.